Hi, I'm Jane, and I'm a founder director at Simple System, and I'm obsessed with Ragwort. We all know we need to get rid of ragwort, and it's pretty obvious when it's in flower in the summer, but it exists all year, and the other seasons are probably the best time to dig up this noxious weed. Once it's in flower, it's really almost too late to do an effective job at clearing it. If we don't control it, it spreads rapidly. Each plant can produce thousands of seeds, and while some might travel longer distances, most only go 50 to 100 metres, which is quite likely still in your horse's field. Although the plants are really obvious in summer, those flowers are very distinctive. They're there all year. When the seeds first germinate, they produce a rosette of distinctive frilly-edged leaves. They're often tinged reddish at the base. In the winter months, the plants can be trickier to spot, especially in longer grass, but they don't die down over winter. They're still there. Can you see the ragwort in this photo? I didn't at first, but there it is. Yeah, there you are. Did you spot it? It's quite a spindly plant at this stage, and often in the winter or when they're not growing so fast, they're not the big, bushy, huge plants that we're familiar with seeing in the summer. These rosettes are quite easy to dig up, but be careful to take out all the roots, as some of the little bits of roots can grow again. Because the plants produce so many seeds, most of which aren't travelling very far, do check for more little plants growing nearby. If you've got one rosette, you've probably got more rosettes, because those seeds don't travel very far and there are lots of them. So, this plant managed to get itself topped during the summer. You may be able to just make out the stumpy edge. It's produced another shoot, and in the plant's efforts to stay alive and in the ground, it's produced lots of side shoots on the roots. We always need to be careful to get these out as well, as each of these will produce a new plant. It's a good idea to get rid of these immature plants out of season, as it were, in the autumn and in the winter, because you've got a much smaller plant, so that you'll get far more plants in your sack as when you're collecting the fully mature plants. So then there's less material to dispose of. You'll have fewer plants next season that will come into flower. Because there aren't any seeds, particularly when you're getting these rosettes, it's safe to compost them because there's nothing that won't rot down. There are no seeds that can remain in the compost to pose a risk next year. And when the ground's wet in the autumn because of all the rain, and in the winter, it's much easier to dig them up.
Okay.
Plants that have got past the rosette stage and produced aerial parts will have stems, and they can even have flowers even in winter. So this picture here of a rather weedy plant with just a couple of flowers, that was taken in late November, and I've even seen flowers in December and January. So these might be plants that you missed in the summer, or as we've said before, they may have been ones that have regrown since being topped off following grazing. These plants have more extensive roots, and they'll spread horizontally as well. So when you dig up, clear the grass around the base of the plant and keep your spade a few centimetres away from the visible base of the plant, so that you don't leave behind those side shoots which will develop into new plants. If you've got any flowers, take them off separately. You can dispose of them more appropriately, but the rest can all be safely composted. Ragwort always needs to be controlled where animals graze. There aren't any animals actually that are immune to the toxins in ragwort. Apart from being poisonous, if left uncontrolled, it becomes very dominant. Remember, we said how many seeds it produces. And it uses up space. We would much rather have grass or more suitable plants growing in. The more ragwort there is, the greater the chance of it getting trampled, and it will wilt, becoming sweet and palatable. And if horses are hungry because ragwort has become dominant and there's not enough grass, they will eat it. It's a fallacy to think they won't eat it, because they will if they're desperate for fresh green food.
Great.
Well, I hope that gives you some ideas about other methods for controlling ragwort other than just pulling it up when we see it in flower in the summer. It's much more effective if we can get rid of it in the winter. If any of you have got any questions about ragwort or feeding your horses, do contact the Simple System feed line. We're always happy to just have a chat about your horse or give you some useful suggestions for their feeding. Thank you for listening this far.